Daf Yomi, Tractate Chullin, page 31. And the time is 5:31 p.m. Jerusalem Standard Time, or Israel Standard Time. And before I start the daf, I'd like to take a moment or two to describe what's happening right now, which is a perfect example, a demonstration of what Gematriona is. Gematriona is the work that I've been involved with for many years, and Gematriona can be described as the gematriatic measurement of clock time and finding patterns within clock time and gematriatic sequences to the end of times, the end times and the coming of the Messiah, Mashiach. And it's 5:31 right now, just turned 5:32. It was 5:31 when I started, and today is 5:31, is May 31st. That's already in alignment. But that's an alignment that is that someone can align themselves. Like I could theoretically find out what date, any date, and then look at the clock and see whenever it gets to that minute, and it would match that date. But there's things that I cannot do, and when they line up, that's even more interesting. And that's what I look for: the things that are not really able to, that person isn't really able to do on their own, and yet it lines up anyway. In Gematriona, the idea of permutations, the concept of permutations are used, which means that specifically in 3-digit numbers. For example, every 3-digit number has 6 different permutations that can be used. For example, 123 can be 132, 231, 213, 321, 312. And so 531 is a permutation of 135. And you might be asking, what's 135? Well, 135 is a permutation of the gematria of the daf that is today. That I couldn't possibly manipulate or arrange for that to happen. Today's daf, that is the Daf Yomi that everyone's doing, is Chullin 31. That's the official daf of today, of May 31st, of Sivan 15, 5786, 2026, those dates. There's a Daf Yomi calendar as an official date. Now, the gematria, the numerical value in the standard Hebrew gematria cipher of Chullin Lamed Aleph. Lamed Aleph means 31, that's the page number, and Chullin is the tractate. If you add that, if you write Chullin Lamed Aleph and you get the numerical value of Chullin Lamed Aleph, you get a result of 135. Now, I certainly couldn't have arranged that 135, which is a permutation of 531, would have come out on 531. That's impossible. And yet it is that way. Chullin Lamed Aleph is equal to 135 in regular Hebrew gematria, and it came on the date of 531. And for these types of identifying patterns and data mining technology is what I call it, finding things and finding patterns, permutations are very useful because you can see that there is a connection. I mean, it's not such high odds that they would match. I mean, it's very, very low. I mean, it's small chance that it would match. I don't know the actual number. 1 in several million or whatever, is maybe more. But the fact that 531 matched 135 in the Daf Yomi is very interesting. And this comes with a different fact that's happening today, is that it's what's known as a blue moon. And a blue moon and it's very appropriate that this match is happening on a blue moon. A blue moon is when there are 2 full moons in one calendar month. So, and I would say in the solar calendar month, like May 31st. It happens in months of 31 days usually. So May 1st was the new moon. And it was a new moon of ER. I mean, not a new moon, it was a full moon. Not a new moon, a full moon. If I said new moon, I retract. Sometimes I say things that are not right. A blue moon is when there's two full moons in one solar month. So in May 31st, there are two full moons, which means that on May 1st, there was the full moon of ER. May 1st was the 15th of ER, was Pesach Sheni. And that was May 1st, because May 2nd was, we started Chullin, which is another correlation. Because if you noticed, and I've mentioned it a few, today's the last day that this is going to match up, but every day so far, besides the 1st of May, every day of May, starting from the 2nd, the number of the month of May was the same number as our Daf Yomi. Okay? So May 2nd, since the tractates start on Daf Bet, on 2, so May 2nd was Daf Bet. So May 3rd, Sunday, was Gimel. 4, Dalet. 5, hey, the whole month of May so far, starting from the 2nd, what matched the Daf Yomi. And you might think that that's nothing special, that's just some kind of coincidence, or maybe you might say it's interesting but really of no import. But with Gematria, it's not only important, it's actually crucial. It's not only crucial, but it's the engine, it's the fuel, it's the thing that drives Gematria, because nothing is taken for granted. Every numerical matching is indicative of something. And every number is taken very seriously, because it's not just random. Nothing is random, is the idea behind Gematria. So let's go behind all the lining up today. Today is the full moon, which is a blue moon. It happens only once every few years. Okay, last time it happened, I looked up, so I'm not exactly sure, so if it's either August of 2024 or August of 2023, I saw both. So, but either way, it's still not like recent. It's like a couple years ago. So a blue moon, and you might be familiar with the expression, once in every blue moon. Okay, once in a blue moon. So today is a blue moon. It's a blue moon, which is rare. It's 5:31. And I noticed this with enough time to start the video at 5:31. Like, sometimes you could say that I could have lined it up myself. I could have lined it up. I could have said, okay, you know what? It's going to be 5:31 tomorrow, so at 5:31, clear my calendar, my clock, and be ready at that time. It's not always easy to do that. But this time I didn't do that. This time I only recognized that I could start it at 5:31 p.m. And that's the only time on the clock I can do it. I can't do it a.m. That's too early. I mean, theoretically you could, but no. So 5:31, I recognized about 8 minutes before, like 5:22. I said, "Hey, wait a minute! I have enough time to start this thing at 5:31, and it's today, 5:31, May 31st. So let's go through all the linings. Okay, it's a blue moon, which is rare. It's 5:31, and the official daf of today is Chullin 31, which is the last day that it will match the Gregorian month. Chullin 31, May 31. But Chullin 31 in Hebrew equals 135, which is a permutation of 531. And that's Gematria. That's a great example of Gematria, and that's what keeps me in the game. And so with that, let's start the daf of 531. I'm sorry, Chullin 31. May 31, Chullin 31. Right. Okay. And with that, let's get started. Yeah, I mean, you go even deeper. I mean, there's a certain chair number that I sit in a certain synagogue, and that happens to be chair that in the row. It's 31. I'm not kidding. It's not. It's really interesting. 31, and 31, and there's something else that I won't say it though. But it's 31 also. So anyway, let's go back to 30b, because it starts a new idea. A very interesting thing that Rava would examine the arrow for Rabbi Yonah bar Tachlipa to ensure that there were no notches, and then it says that Rava shot the arrow and he slaughtered a bird as it was flying. And so the question is it kosher if a bird is slaughtered while it's flying? The Gemara challenges, and perhaps when the arrow cut the bird's neck, it performed an inverted slaughter, with the arrow concealed in the neck and cut the simanim from back to front. And now the Gemara responds, and here we are in our daily daf of, I can't get enough of this. This is what Gematria is all about. 31 Chullin, okay? And it's May 31st, the last day will be, and it's a blue moon. Okay. Gid, or on the top of Chullin 31a. Gid fi dimi parmi. That the feathers at the front of the neck were unraveled by the arrow, a clear indication that the slaughter was performed from the front of the neck. Okay. I'm saying you can check it to see. והבאי כיסוי וחיתימה דמחסין לי ואמר בזירה אמרה ושייכת צורך שייתן אפור למטה ואפור למעלו שנאמר וכיסאו באפור אפור לא נאמר אלא באפור מלמד ששייכת צורך שייתן אפור למטה ואפור למעלו. The Gemara notes another difficulty encountered in the slaughter of a flying bird with an arrow. But doesn't the bird's blood require covering with earth? And if you would say that Rabbi Yonah bar Tachlifa covers the blood, but doesn't Rabbi Zera say that Rav says, in fulfilling the mitzvah of covering the blood, one who slaughters an undomesticated animal or bird must place earth beneath the blood and earth above it, as it is stated, he shall spill its blood and cover it in earth. Leviticus 17:13. It is not stated cover it with earth, but rather in earth. This teaches that one who slaughters must place earth beneath the blood and earth above the blood, so that the blood will be within the earth. The Gemara answers that Rabbi Yonah bar Tachlifa would designate for himself the earth of the entire valley before shooting the arrow. That earth would serve as the layer of earth beneath the blood, and he would proceed to cover the blood with another layer of earth. Hayashochet vihitis. The Mishnah teaches in a case where one was in the process of slaughtering the animal in the standard manner and he decapitated the animal in one motion, if the length of the knife is equivalent to the breadth of the animal's entire neck, the slaughter is valid. Rabbi Zera says the knife must be equivalent to the breadth of the animal's entire neck and extend beyond the neck. A dilemma was raised before the sages. Did Rabbi Zera mean equivalent to the breadth of the animal's entire neck and extend beyond the neck by an amount equivalent to the breadth of the entire neck, in which case the length of the knife would be equal to the breadth of two necks? Or perhaps he meant equivalent to the breadth of the entire neck and beyond the neck by any amount. Toshima hoya shoichet v'hiti shnei reishin bebas achas. אם יש לשקים מלא צבא אחד כושר, מי מלא צבא אחד, אילם מלא צבא אחד בסולם. השתומי בהמה אחס, באינן מלא צבא וחוץ צבא ובשתי בהמויס, סגין להו, כי מלא צבא אחד, אלא פשיטה מלא צבא וחוץ לשני צבאים. The Gemara suggests coming here proof to resolve the dilemma from the continuation of the Mishnah. If one was in the process of slaughtering two animals simultaneously, and he decapitated two heads in one motion, if the length of the knife is equivalent to the breadth of the entire neck of one of the animals, the slaughter is valid. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of the phrase, the breadth of an entire neck of one of the animals, if we say that what it means, if we say that it means the breadth of one entire neck and nothing more, that is difficult. Now, for the slaughter of one animal, we require that the knife be equivalent to the breadth of the animal's entire neck and extend beyond the neck. For the slaughter of two animals, is it possible that a knife whose length is equivalent to the breadth of one animal's entire neck would be sufficient? Rather, it is obvious that it means that the length of the knife must be equivalent to the breadth of one entire neck beyond the breadth of two necks. Not T-necks, but two necks. Like T-neck, New Jersey, it reminds me of. But not a tunic, like a robe, just two necks. The Gemara suggests, learn from the Mishnah, that Rabbi Zera means that the length of the knife must be equivalent to the breadth of the animal's entire neck and extend beyond the neck by the breadth of the entire neck. The Gemara concludes, indeed, learn from it that this was Rabbi Zera's intent. The Mishnah continues, in what case is this statement said? It is when one drew the knife back and did not draw it forth, or drew it forth and did not draw it back. But if he drew it back and forth, even the knife was of any length, even if he slaughtered with a scalpel, the slaughter is valid. Rav Menashe said, this is the halacha in the case of a scalpel that does not have protrusions from the sides. If there are protrusions, since the scalpel is short, there is concern that the corners may perforate the simanim or enter between the simanim and invalidate the slaughter. Okay. Rav Acha, son of Rav Avia, said to Rav Menashe, what is the halacha with regard to slaughter with a needle? What are you talking about? Wow. Slaughtering with a needle, who would do that? That's terrible l'chaim, y'all. Why doesn't that ever come up? What's the halacha with regard to slaughter with a needle? Rav Menashe said to him, a needle pierces the simanim as it perforates the neck instead of cutting it. Okay. Machzade ushkape mai Amarle Tanina Afinu kol shehu bailav machzade ushkape Lo Izmail behedye ketani leim Peroshe kol mefaresh mai kol shehu Izmail. Rav Acha then asked Rabbi Menashe, what is the halacha with regard to slaughtering with a cobbler's needle, which is flat and has sharp sides? Rabbi Menashe said to him, we already learned in the Mishnah, even if the knife was of any length, the slaughter is valid. What? Is it not referring to the slaughter with a cobbler's needle? The Gemara responds, no, the reference is slaughtering with a scalpel, which is larger than a cobbler's needle. The Gemara objects, the Tana teaches the case of a scalpel explicitly in the Mishnah. Therefore, the phrase in the Mishnah, a knife of any length, must be referring to an item smaller than a scalpel. The Gemara explains the subsequent mention of the scalpel is explaining the phrase, even if the knife was of any length. What is a knife of any length with which slaughter is valid? It is a scalpel. Hachanami mistavro di isal gedaitich machta di ushkape. Hashta machta di ushkape. Sharia izmel miboye. Izmel istricha. Leis al gedaitich amina ligzo izmel. Shein loy karnaim atu izmel sheish loy karnaim kamash melan. This too stands to reason, as if it enters your mind, that the phrase a knife of any length is referring to a cobbler's needle. Now that it is permitted to slaughter with a cobbler's needle, is it necessary for the Tana to teach that it is permitted to slaughter with a scalpel, which is larger than a cobbler's needle? The Gemara rejects that reasoning. It is necessary for the Mishnah to teach both the case of a cobbler's needle and the case of a scalpel, as it could enter your mind to say that it is prohibited to slaughter with a scalpel, even though it is permitted to slaughter with a cobbler's needle. The reasoning for this distinction would be, let the sages issue a decree prohibiting the case of use of a scalpel with no protrusions due to the prohibition against using a scalpel with protrusions. Therefore, the Tana teaches us that there is no decree and it is permitted to slaughter with a scalpel that has no protrusions. Okay? That's it for the Talmud. And now we start the new Mishnah. Zog the Mishnah, Nof nosaki mishachata afal pi shishachta kedalka besulo shnema v'zavachta v'yachalta ma v'shata zoveach ata ochei. That's the Mishnah. If a knife fell and slaughtered an animal, although the knife slaughtered the animal in the standard manner, the slaughter is not valid, as it is stated, and you shall slaughter, and you shall eat, Deuteronomy 27 verse 7, from which is derived that which you slaughter you may eat, and that which was slaughtered on its own you may not eat. Okay? That's the Mishnah and the Gemara. Doesn't seem that it would be physically possible, because it has to come from under, but it's just saying, it's just abstract. It's just like, legally speaking. Taima dinafla haibilahu kashera yafalgad lo mikavin. The Mishnah teaches that if a knife fell and slaughtered an animal, the slaughter is not valid. There's no way it could kill an animal that way. First of all, the force isn't strong enough. Second of all, the neck is under, and it's just not possible. It's not physically possible to do that. But yeah, even if the animal was turned upside down, it still wouldn't have enough force to cut through. The Mishnah teaches that if a knife fell and slaughtered the animal, the slaughter is not valid. The Gemara notes the reason the slaughter is not valid is the knife fell. But by inference, if one dropped a knife, slaughter is valid, and that is the halacha. Even though when dropping the knife, if he did not intend to slaughter the animal, okay. Man tanid lo bayin kavazil nishchita. Rabbi Nasani ditani Oshaya zeira min chevraya. Sarak sakin linoatzah bekotel. Hello, Chavishot Gedalko. Rabbi Nasan Makshir Vachom Poislim. Hu tane la vu amar la la Rabbi Nasan. To Rabbi Nosson. The Gemara asks, who is the Tana who holds that we do not require intent for slaughter? Rava said, it is Rabbi Natan, as Oshaya, youngest of the company of sages, taught in Ebraita. If one threw a knife to embed in the wall and in the course of its flight, the knife went and slaughtered an animal in its proper manner. These things are highly improbable. But yeah, we're not talking about probable, not probable. We're just talking about if. Rabbi Natan deems the slaughter valid, and the rabbis deem the slaughter not valid. Oshaya teaches that the Braita. Oshaya teaches the Braita, and he says about it. The halacha is in accordance with the opinion of the Rabbi Natan, and there is no need for intent to perform a valid act of slaughter. But okay. The Gemara asks, but didn't Rava already say it one time, that the Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Natan, as we learned in the Mishnah 2a, with regard to any of them, a deaf, mute, an imbecile, or a minor, who slaughtered an animal and others see and supervise them, the slaughter is valid, even though they are incapable of intent. And we said, who is the Tana who holds that we do not require intent for slaughter? And Rabbi said is Rabbi Natan. The Gemara answers, but both statements are necessary, as had Rava taught us his statement there with regard to a deaf, mute, an imbecile, and a minor. One would have thought that the slaughter is valid due to the fact that although the individual lacks intent to slaughter the animal, he intends his action for the sake of cutting in general. But here, with regard to throwing a knife at the wall, where he does not intend to cut at all, say no, the slaughter is not valid. And had Rava taught his statement here with regard to throwing a knife, one would have thought that the slaughter is valid. That the slaughter is valid is due to the fact that it comes due to the action of a mentally competent person. But there, with regard to slaughter by a deaf, mute, and imbecile, or minor, where the slaughter does not come due to the action of a mentally competent person, say the slaughter is not valid. Therefore, it is necessary for us to teach both cases. Eat marni dashnin to tovla. The Mishnah is now cited as proof in an Amoraic dispute. It was stated with regard to a menstruating woman who, after her menstrual flow ended, was compelled against her will and immersed in a ritual bath. Okay, someone forced her into the mikveh. Yehuda says that Rav says she is ritually pure vis-a-vis her house, meaning it is permitted for her to engage in intercourse with her husband, but is prohibited for her to partake of truma because the immersion is not considered valid for that purpose. And Rabbi Yochanan says she was not purified even vis-a-vis her house. Amar le'Rav Nachman le'Rav Jamar to'ayir le'beis v'asur le'ach v'truma avoin kores hu tiro brackets hitalto isul misa miboye. Rav said to Rav Nachman, according to the opinion of Rav, who says that she is ritually pure vis-a-vis her house, but it is prohibited for her to partake of truma. It is difficult with regard to a transgression punishable by karet, meaning intercourse with a menstruating woman. She was rendered permitted by immersion against her will. With regard to partaking of truma, a prohibition punishable by death at the hand of heaven, which is a lesser punishment. Is it necessary to say that it's permitted for her through immersion against her will? Why then does Rav deem it prohibited for her to partake of Truma? Amar lei Rav. Amar lei. Okay. Amar lei balachudin hu nichun namiboy lekavonam manana b'tumara. It's nangal shinitlash bar b'imsav v'nafal al adam al kelim ta'ayrein ma'elav adam dumi dekelim ma dekelim de lo mikavni avodem nami de lo boy kavonim. Nachman said to him, Lachman says her husband is non-sacred and non-sacred items do not require intent for purification. From where do you say so? It is, as is learned in the Mishnah, quote 5:6, in the case of a wave that was detached from the sea, and in it were 40 seah of water, and that wave fell upon an impure person on impure vessels, and they are ritually pure. What is it not that a person is similar to vessels, just as vessels do not intend to be purified, and they are purified by the wave, so too a person does not require intent in order to be purified. Wow. The Gemara rejects that proof. From where is there proof that this is meaning the Mishnah? Perhaps we are dealing with the case of one who sits near the water and waits to determine when the wave will be detached, which is tantamount to having intent to immerse. And can you believe it? It's 31. Oh, you missed 31. So 31 minutes. Almost. 31:51. I guess. Why not? 31:53.